GKFX Prime presents the Market Analysis Webinar.
Hello traders, hello everyone. Welcome to another weekly analysis video. My name is Dima. It's that time of the week again where we're going to look at some high probability setups. We are in the last week of November going into December. It is NFP week and the last month of the year where we're going to be starting this Thursday and Friday. So let's see what happens as we reach the end of the month and we go into the new monthly candle. As always, I'm going to go through the economic calendar, go through some high probability setups with you, and I hope you had a good trading week last week and made use of what we looked at there. So let's start again this week. Without further ado, let's go into the calendar and let's look at what we've got for this week and what I've outlined for you. I've got quite a few nice setups to look at, and let's see if we can merge this economic calendar with the technicals and find some good setups. Right then, Monday, let's begin. Monday, we've got a speech from the ECB. So there's news on that on Euro. Tuesday, we've got GDP figures from Switzerland. We've got GDP figures from CAD as well. We've got a speech from the UK, which might be important, so I'll outline that. And on the dollar, we've got consumer confidence. That's perhaps a bit of a more minor bit of news. Wednesday, we've got CPI figures on the Australian dollar. Then we've got monetary policy announcement and inflation announcement on the euro, so look out for that one. And we've got dollar as well, some figures there on jobs, goods and GDP too. Thursday, we go into some more high impact news. We've got a speech from Bank of Japan. We've got CPI figures on the Swiss. And again, once again, another Euro news. We've got quite a few this week, it looks like. We've got an ECB General Council meeting report. We've got unemployment rate. We've got CAD, manufacturing PMI, dollar PMI, and the speech, and a few other minor ones. So there's quite a bit on the dollar as well there on Thursday. And then Friday, another speech on the Australian dollar from Australia there. Another Euro announcement speech, and we've got unemployment figures on Friday, first Friday of the month, and NFP, which is obviously the one to look out for. That's the big one for the week. So quite a few bits of news here from quite a few currencies this week. It's across the board pretty much. So let's see what we can glean from the technicals as well. We've got, just to summarize, quite a few on Aussie here. We've got quite a few on Euro. Want to pay attention to that, and dollar as well. So let's see what happens. Right, let's begin then with the usual Forex majors and then move on to the other charts. Let's start with the pound here. Let's begin by looking at the weekly, as I usually do, expecting from previous week weakness in the dollar, strength in the currencies linked to the dollar. So pound, GU, we're looking for further bullishness. We've got this level here at the top that I'll be looking at. Last week closed bullish very clearly, so looking for the continuation to this swing high right here on the weekly basis, and that's about 200 pips away. Looking at the 4 hour, it looks like we could possibly be making a swing low up here on this level. And if this swing low holds and we then have a break of the structures to the left, what I'll be looking at is for that push higher, then to get a retracement, remembering that we've got a bit of news this week, retracement, and then a continuation to the upside. We also have this high up here that you can see, and let's look for the continuation by there. I see that as the high probability scenario. If we don't close higher, we go lower, then the other possibility, the other thing that I can see here, have to always take into account the other possibilities, would be a retracement to the downside, a move a little bit lower, and then the move higher. So that would be a cheaper price, a better price. So let's look out for that and keep our eyes open and keep the possibilities open for what the market wants to do. All right, so that we've got the pound dollar idea here. Those are the two scenarios that I'm looking at. Let's move on to the next one. Next one, another major pair, dollar CAD. Looked at dollar CAD last week, and this was as expected. We had the bounce from this area down here, and then now we have come all the way back up to this area again. Now, since we have not breached this high up here, which I was looking at in terms of the invalidation point, then I would still be looking for the same idea. Even though we've come up here, I'll still be looking for this area to hold and then a drop once again. First of all to this level, if I look on the weekly, this level down here, and then the next levels down. So that is the setup that I'm still looking at, even though we're now beginning to range, coming back into this level. As long as we don't breach this high, then I'll be still looking for the downside, still the sell idea that I see as the higher probability scenario right now. And as we break structures down here, then we should be seeing more swings to the downside and more opportunities to capture the sell idea on dollar CAD here. So continuing on last week and this week, going by the same bias. All right, next what I'm going to look at is euro pound. So euro pound, let's look at the weekly once again. The weekly, I'm seeing this level down here as the likely target. We're now getting this very large ranging movement, but we are still seeing the downside. We've got last week closing very bearish, previous week also bearish. We had this candle indicating a lot of selling momentum. So now I am looking for that continuation to this level down here, which is the 0.856. Let's look on the lower time frame, and what I can see here is we're now making a retracement. Here's that obvious high to the low, and I'm going to look at everything above 50 into the 61.8 and even 78 level, and let's see where we get that reaction from. So let me delete the fib here, and I'll be looking for a reaction from up here coming to the downside, which should be from here to here, about 70-80 pips away. So into the zone, nice price action, reaction to the downside. That's the high probability scenario here. Still bearish, still very obviously bearish, breaking lows, breaking structures, creating lower lows. So I don't see any reason to be buying this pair at the moment. Very clear that we are looking at the downside for now, until things change, until this level up here, this structure up here gets broken. When that gets broken, the story will change. So let's stick with what we've got, what we see, the obviousness of it, and then let the probability stack up in our favor. Next, I'm going to go to another pound pair. So we've got a few, I'm looking at a few pound pairs, bearing in mind we do have news, pound news, we do have dollar news. Obviously, we've seen quite a few during the week. We also have Aussie news, so I'm going to look at pound Aussie as well. We have Swiss news, I'm going to look at pound Swiss. Keep that in mind and watch out for the price action when the news hits and line yourself up with it. All right, then weekly, I was looking at bullishness. I was looking at the buy scenario, high probability last week, which is what came into play. And this is the level that I'm looking to reach. We have not yet reached this level up here, looking at this as the swing low and this high to be targeted. Let's look at the 4-hour quickly. This was the level I was looking at. We went into this levels previously, pushed away, and again, once again here, this zone here was just about hit, and then we moved away. So let's now delete that. That's from last week. This is from last week as well. And this as well, so we don't need that right now. So you could see here that this level, this high up here, hasn't been hit. We are now created a new high, making a retracement, what looks to be a possible retracement phase. And what I'll be looking to do is once again get in on the buy idea on the pound Swiss here. So here's the level that I'm looking at. If you want to draw fib once again, if that's easier for you to mark things out, here you go. That zone coincides with the 61.8. We may get a bit of a push lower to 71.78. So let's see where the market wants to reverse from. Let it tell us. And coming in to continue to the upside. So it's quite much easier to see than previous week, because we've broken the structure high here, the structure high here, and created a new higher, higher low, higher high. So it's a clear trend developing. It's much more obvious to see, and you can see the high probabilities stacking up in this case. So that's the pound Swiss, remembering the pound news, remembering the Swiss news as well. Let's see where the market takes us, and then make a decision once we actually have that probability stacking up in with the price section. So another one, pound Aussie. Let's look at the monthly in this case. We can see this very, very bullish pin bar with a huge wick to the downside, about 1,000 pips, and closed bullish, so expecting that bullishness. The month after that, the bullishness continued, and then this month it looks like the bullishness is following through yet again. I'd like to continue with that, and I see the probabilities as stacking up with that bullishness, so I'm going to continue with that idea. Looking at the weekly, I can see this as a possible swing, and then this high as a possible target to reach for. Previous weeks we closed bullish, and this week I see the same thing happening as a balance of probabilities, more likely to go up than anything else. Here we are. Here's the weekly candle. Looking at the 4-hour, we just had this push up in the price. Let me just shift the chart for a little bit. Here's that target. We are about 150 pips away from it. And I can see a possible zone here. That looks interesting. So what I'm going to do is mark that out, and if I get a nice, better price retracement, then I'll be looking for the upside on that. Let's see how deep the pullback goes. If we get that, we may not. We may get a push higher. If we get a push higher, then we're going to have to wait for another better price retracement to go to the upside. But obviously the probabilities are reduced, and the risk to reward is going to be adjusted, is going to be reduced as well, because we're going to be at a higher price. But so far it seems like we're pushing higher. We're getting higher highs, higher lows. We've now had another push higher right at the beginning of the day, Monday, beginning of the week, and looking for that to carry on throughout the week. Let's see if that is the case. There's also a possibility that we can get to this low, because we're having this range here at the moment. So if we do get another push lower, then I'll be looking at this zone to trade from. Let's see how it works out, if it works out like that. But I'll have to see it happening, and I would like to see very bullish candles like this one we've just had to confirm the upside, to look for more upside momentum and capitalize on that. Let's see if that works out. Let's go to the next one on the list. The next one on the list will be Euro Yen. Let's look at Euro Yen. We've got Euro news throughout the week. We've got speech from the Bank of Japan. Now let's see where we've got the technical setting up. Quick look at the monthly. You can see that we had a very bullish higher highs, higher lows on the monthly happening there. And we're also deep into a retracement, and we haven't yet taken this high up here. Now, the question is, if we look down on the weekly, is this going to be a bearish reversal now that we are in this very choppy price action, or are we going to continue on that bullishness to hit this high? The way I'm looking at it is we're going to want to wait and see where the market indicates that it's going. And the way I will do that is to look for clear breaks. And the clear breaks will be the breaks of the structural points where the market has been. So looking left here, we've now broken lows. We've broken this low, and we haven't yet broken this low. So if we get a breakdown from here and we go lower and we create a new low, I've been looking at that as a downside idea. So break, pull back, and then continuing to these obvious structural levels to the left. And if that does not happen and we go higher instead, which will be a break of this high, then what I'll be looking for in that case is a break higher, a pullback, and then continuing to the upside into the next levels right up here. Let's have a quick look on the daily picture. Daily picture, we can see we had this big drops. Just looking at little clues in the price action here, we had quick drops and very slow candles to the upside. We can see quick drop and slow movement to the upside. Another one, here's the last quick drop and very gradual slow movement to the upside, which kind of indicates, as together with these broken lows, you can see here this low broke here, and this low, and this low, and this low. It indicates that possibly there is more downside than upside in the euro yen. Every time the market pushes higher, we have a collapse here, and this looks now like a possible swing high. We're now continuing lower, and maybe we are now reaching for this low, and then the next low down would be down here at 140, 141, something like that. So that's what I'm looking at in terms of the euro yen. It's still looking a little bit uncertain. The previous week was slightly weak, but also I would say neutral, not very clearly weak. So let's see if that continuation to the downside carries on. And the interesting place for first reversal will be up here in this price. Even if I go down to the lower time frame, maybe you can see it more clearly. And this is the idea here. Let's see if we get that reaction of this zone and then follow through with the breakdown of the lows, or no reaction, and then we just blast through this high and create a new higher high, and then we're gonna look to go higher. There's a little trend line here if you want to draw that. So a break of that trend line will be add a further confirmation to the upside. That's how I'm looking at euro yen. Going to be flexible on this one. Look at several possibilities, because the yen as a whole is a bit funny at the moment. The price action is not so clean, not so clear across the board on the yen pairs. So going to bear that in mind and not sticking too strictly to this one. Be a bit more flexible. Let's see where it goes, and maybe exercise a little bit more patience before getting in this case, because it's not so clear. So I want to see the market give us a little bit more information, a little bit more, I would say, probability stacking up. Right, next, let's move on to the last one. Last one for this week is going to be the S&P. Let me just jog your memory back into S&P. We did look at that a few weeks ago. We looked at the downside, always looking for the sell in this scenario, because we have got you can see bearish candles and then slight retracement and then bearishness again. You can see 2 candles, 2 months. It's been in a bearish scenario, then 1 candle bullish, and then again 3 candles bearish, 1 candle bullish, and we're getting lower lows, lower highs. So we are definitely in a bearish environment. Looking at the weekly, we can see we've made, here's a swing high, it's another swing high. We're now in a very deep retracement. And now looking on the daily, we have started to make this little range. Last week it did close bullish, but we didn't close above the high of the week before that. And we are now ranging, if you can see, I can mark this out for you, in this little range, which is a little bit unclear about what exactly is happening here. We have also got this deep retracement that we're well into the 78 level, and now we're kind of holding that level here. Question becomes now, where do we go from here? Is this the end of the retracement and we're going to get continuation to the downside and the drop, or are we going to get higher? And this high will be of massive significance, because if we break this high, we're going to be breaking a major structural area here, and then possibly going higher or further ranging movement. Let's look on the 4 hour. The way I'm going to approach this is, again, similar to the euro yen. Let's look at where the market is going to go, what it's going to want to do. And the way I'm going to read this is I will wait for breaks of structure, breaks of lows and breaks of highs. Now we've got this top side, we have this bottom side, and I'll wait to see where the market is going to take us. Now, because it's ranging, this week could continue to be a ranging week. And if that is the case, then we may have to wait for next week, especially with NFP Friday, to see where price takes us. Now, the way I'm going to approach this is in 2 ways. Either we may have a break to the top side, and if there is a close below and we may have a fake out, we have news. If we have close below, then what I'll be looking for is a retracement to continue to the downside. If we don't have that, and instead we have a break to the downside and we break these lows with conviction, with momentum, with very strong price action, just like you see in these candles here, then from there I'll be looking for a pullback into this level and then the break to the downside. Now, the only possibility for a buy scenario would come when we break this level up here that I was looking at, but that is some way away, and I don't know if that's going to happen this week. That's quite a distance away, so that is may not be relevant for this week. I don't know. Let's see where it goes. I would be very careful with the upside here, with the buy scenario, or when the market breaks higher. I'm not going to do anything because we're still deep in the retracement and the market really may be faking out. There may be some volatility, and we'll have to see if that is going to be the case. If it really wants to go higher, then it will continue to go higher, and there's no need to chase the price because I'll just wait for a better scenario to happen. If we do have the downside, then we have a very long way to go down to these lows. Major move here. We've got all of these lows to target, 1, 2, and 3, and even this one on the way. So loads of areas of structure to target on the way down. So a big move here if it happens, if it plays out, if the market gives it. Gonna wait for that to unfold. You will really want to see on the daily a nice clean break if it's going higher and a close above. And then I would really like to see it go above this high up here in order to change the bias. So far, for now, the bias is going to still remain, continue to the downside, continue with the sell. That is a higher probability, and I'll be very careful with thinking about buying. Right now, forming this little range, which usually happens as well before NFP and we've got remembering that this is the last week of the month. So once this monthly candle closes, we may have to reassess. We have to see what happens there, and maybe might want to wait a little bit longer because of this range and because we're dealing with the large, much larger picture. Remember, we just started on the monthly and then we're looking at the weekly on this chart. So do bear that in mind, and this one might require a little bit more patience than the others. That's my little little prediction. Let's see where it plays out. Again, price action will tell us, the chart will tell us where the market prefers to go. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to the downside here as well on the way down if we get that reversal. Therefore, if you have a bit of emotion or fear of missing out, don't worry about it, because no doubt the market will print some more opportunities later down the line, even if you don't get the very high, the very top. So keep your emotions in check, and as always, keep your risk management in check. Very important. That's number one. These are the charts that we've got for this week. These are the ideas, higher probability scenarios. Watch out for the weekly economic news. Keep that in front of you, keep that next to you, and trade safe. And hopefully you will come out on top this week. Thank you very much for watching. It's been another weekly analysis video. My name is Dima. I'll see you on the next week's analysis. Next week will be December, a new month. We're going to reassess the charts. We're going to have a new monthly candles, and let's see where the market goes from there. No doubt we'll have more opportunities and some more ideas there. Okay, as always, bye for now, and catch up with you on the next video. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.